On today's show, Nick Spence joins us for our third Ring of Honor this summer. We're going to draft the most polarizing players in Ottawa Senators history. That's coming up on today's Locked On Sens.
I'm Jake Sanderson.
I'm Tim Stützle, and you're listening to the Locked On Senators podcast.
You're Locked On Senators, your daily podcast on the Ottawa Senators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome. You are locked on to the Ottawa Senators, the only daily podcast covering the Sens. On the outskirts of enemy territory, I'm Ross Levitan. Brandon Pillar will be by in just a moment. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. You can also follow the show on social media. We're at Sens Central on Twitter, LockedOn.Senators on Instagram. You can find us everywhere you get podcasts, free and available on YouTube. If you missed it yesterday, we had a bonus episode everywhere, and it was about Nick Cousins signing in Ottawa. Today is Friday, August 30th, and now enjoy this week's Ring of Honor. Welcome back to the Ring of Honor. I'm Ross Levitan alongside Brandon Pillar, and a new challenger has emerged for Season 2, Episode 3 of the Ring of Honor. It's our good friend Nick Spence. Nick, what's going on, man? How's your summer?
Summer's good. Time off just ended, so I'm back to work. Not the highlight of summer, but it also means Sens hockey is just around the corner, so you got to be excited.
So fired up for that. Last time we had you on was after the season ticket holders got the lay of the land. How excited are you for the home opener?
Oh, I can't wait. We're 43 days away, 42? We're getting there.
Who's counting?
I think you're actually counting down the days with videos, Ross, aren't you?
I certainly am, and we're actually both wrong because, spoiler alert, we're airing this on Friday. So it's going to be 41 days until the season.
Yeah,
so
not math guys.
No, not math guys here, but we are a couple winners here, as Pilsy and I have each taken one of these Ring of Honors. But Nick's come prepared. Today we are doing the most polarizing players in Senators history. I had to scratch off a few names when we clarified it's players only. And I think that you can go so many different directions in this one. Pilsy, this was actually your idea. Why was this one to you such a great Ring of Honor topic?
Well, I think the thing with Ring of Honor topics is you want the topic to be something where a lot of the picks are subjective, like we've done. Like what we did with Jack was great. Best playoff moments, because there's different ways you can do that. The season moments, same thing. But we've done like other ones like late draft picks where it's like, okay, just who kind of had the most points, and you just kind of work like that. So, and Nick, we were talking about this before, like this was a hard subject to research because you have all these ideas in your head, or at least I'll speak for myself, of guys that you think are polarizing, but then you're like, wait, does everyone think that these guys are polarizing? Like, are these going to pop on the graphics? So this was my idea, but I'm not going to lie, I'm a little nervous for how this is going to go. It could go well for me, or it could go terrible. Ross, to steal a line from you, I'm going for 90 or 10% here, probably.
Well, I saw the former of that last week. I saw the latter of that in the first week. So I'm kind of all over the place. But one thing I do know is when I drafted second, I was victorious. So I'm picking the order. I got the win last week. I'm going second, and our guest, Nick Spence, will be going first. You can also find Nick on Twitter, Whiskey Nick 95, right? 95? Is 95, that how many names? Yeah. That's how many names you researched for this list?
No, only 32 for this list. Oh, well, I guess I only have 32 on the list. I researched maybe 95. Yeah.
If you're new to Ring of Honor, it's 4 rounds and there's 3 of us. Math guy, that's 12 players total. Nick, you have the honor to go first. Who is the most polarizing player in Senators history?
I'm so intrigued. Let's go.
Oh, I did not want the number 1 pick because I have no idea.
Got him.
Where this is going. This is terrible. You've
already putting him on his toes.
Done me dirty. Done me dirty. Been a Sens fan a long time. I remember a ton of post-game shows where guys are just getting ripped to shreds, and then next dude calls in, and I love him. He's the best player. Like just back and forth. I think the guy that sticks out most to me as like just there's people hate him, people love him, Alexei Yashin. I think Yashin's just his whole time here between contract holdouts, but then only guy that ever got Hart Trophy votes for us. There's not really any way to land on him, right? And he hasn't really come back yet and kind of fallen into people's good graces either, right? Like he doesn't have that things are cool now.
He came back for that 2017 outdoor alumni game, though. It is a good pick, though. He was going to be either my first or second because I knew Pillsy wasn't going to go that way.
Yeah, I mean, you had to be around, right? Pillsy became a Sens fan a little bit after Yashin was gone, right? So you missed all the old post-game shows, man. People just, tough times for Yashin.
He was high on my list, but honestly, I started going through the info and I was like, I don't even know how I'm going to describe how he was polarizing. How many holdouts were there? How many court disputes where I was reading one article where the government of Ontario got involved and the PA, and he tried to go off and play in Switzerland or something and he got blocked by the IAHF. It was nuts.
Man, the polarization for Yashin went even beyond when he played for Ottawa. I'm looking at an article from Maclean's from 2003 right now, and I'm just going to assume that this is Bruce Garriock and Brent Wallace writing this. The author's name is Bruce Wallace, but the title is Yashin cancels $1 million donation to the NAC, the National Art Gallery in Ottawa, and it is pretty shady. It came out that out of the money that was already given to them, he needed $11,000 funneled to Tatiana Entertainment, which was a consulting company named after his mother. He needed another guy who was involved.
That's shady.
He was splitting his money up and moving on. So you know what, Nick? That's a fantastic pick. Alexei Yashin is the most polarizing player in Ottawa Senators history. Pillsy, any more on that, or should we move on to my first pick of this draft?
It was a good pick. He was in my top 3, so congrats, Nick. Well done.
All right.
Wow,
good.
Congrats.
Good to hear. Good to hear.
That is so rude the way he did that.
What?
So, yeah, good job, man. That's good job. Good job.
Oh, no, I thought it was okay. I thought it was okay.
Yeah, that was genuine. Come on. You have to give any compliments out here. Jeez.
No, can't. Not on this show. My top pick, I'm just going to go a little bit more, current, but similar situations in terms of the ending just stunk. Danny Heatley has to be a first-round pick in the most polarizing sense of all time. He just literally was dropped in to Ottawa after going through, obviously, off-ice issues and the horrible accident that killed his friend in Atlanta, Dan Schneider, and fresh scene, 2 years, 100 goals, 41 goals his third year, and then it just diminished his role on the power play, and he sent off to San Jose a year after that. So Danny Heatley, I'm confident in this pick for number 2.
Yeah, the real issue with Heatley here is he was 1 year into a 6-year extension on the most successful line in Ottawa Senators history, and then he gets a little pouty about being on the second power play, and he just says, nope, I want a trade request. And Brian Murray was just bamboozled by this, and he's like, you know what, whatever. If you want out, we're going to get you out. I got a deal to Edmonton. Let's clean this up. Let's move on. And he's like, nah,
I don't want to go to Edmonton.
Don't want to go there. And the real issue with this is Melnick was like, no, we got to move him. There's a $4 million bonus coming up. We have a deal in place. What's going on here? He ultimately says, nope, not going there. I believe, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but the Sens end up on the hook for that $4 million because they can't trade him to San Jose till later. But we can have a quick debate here, but I think everyone agrees the San Jose deal ended up being better. No?
I think so. Yeah. The deal with Edmonton was Dustin Penner, Ladislav Smeed, and a draft pick, I believe. I think Andrew Cogliano was in that trade too.
Yeah, but Milan McCulloch made it worth it because
Yeah, but that's really all they got because Chichu kind of fizzled out pretty quick.
Yeah,
Chichu did nothing in Ottawa.
They needed Thornton
61 games, 61 games, 14 points, something like that.
That's tough. But it's not tough? Picking Danny Heatley at number 2. He is the second most polar. I think that the draft is going pretty well right now, Pillsy. You're up at number 3.
All right. Well, I'm going to get my 1-2 here. So this is going well for me. I'm going to start with the reason I'm an Ottawa Senators fan. Dominic Hasek is one of the most polarizing Sens players ever. Obviously, Craig Anderson is the greatest franchise goalie for the Ottawa Senators, but Dominic Hasek is and always will be the greatest goalie to play for the Ottawa Senators. Now, he didn't play here very long, but when he was here, he was dominant. I'm just double checking the stats here. When he played for the Ottawa Senators,
yeah, they were pretty good.
In 2005, 2006,
system
40,
goalie.
43 system goalie. Yeah, right. 43 games, 209 save percentage, 925 or 209 goals against, 925 save percentage, 5 shutouts, 28, 10, and 4 record. And guys, I'm trying to scroll over to find his playoff stats for that year.
You might pull an adductor trying to find them.
But I cannot find them because during the Olympics, he pulled his adductor muscle, which no one knew and no one knows now what that is. It's basically, they should call it the Hasek muscle because that's the only relevance it's had in the world. But the issue with Dominic Hasek is he was so damn good on a team that had such high aspirations. And look, people get injured. It happens. But when you get injured and people start to think maybe you're faking it, that's when people get pissed. And it just seemed like, again, we didn't know anything about that adductor muscle. So we're like, I don't know how long it takes to recover from that. He should be back by now. It's the playoffs. You got to fight through it. And he wasn't able to do that. And reportedly, Hasek felt bad about it the offseason after and was like, look, I'll sign a deal for $500,000 to come back. And the Sens were like, yeah, no thanks. But that would have been an insane bargain of a deal.
Instead, they threw all that money at Martin Gerber.
Yeah.
And then he just sat on the bench for most of the year. They probably should have buried the pride there and just taken Hasek at $500,000.
Big time.
Was Gerber before?
Gerber was the next year. No, because Gerber was Cam Ward's backup. The year that Hasek was in Ottawa, he lost the job to Cam Ward. They win the cup.
I always tied Gerber to the Chara thing.
No,
Redden and Gerber. What goalie am I thinking of?
Not sure. They got Mike Morrison that year for a cup of coffee to replace Hasek when he got hurt. But no, Gerber came in 06-07. He was there for that second year. And no, that's a good pick, Pillsy. He kept practicing and he was like, maybe Friday. Maybe I'll be back Friday. And he never came back for a game. So that's the first round. I think we did pretty well. I think we're starting to get the hang of it. I've still got my second overall pick, though. I will say that. Will I get a chance? Depends what Pillsy picks next. You're listening to Locked On Senators, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel. It's America's #1 sportsbook. Well, we have something a little different for you this time. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then, with a YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel at any time. Just go to FanDuel.com/lockedon to download America's #1 sportsbook. You can also get ahead. Futures are all live for the NHL season. I've already taken a look at Tim Stützle over points. I've been looking at Sens to make playoffs. Why not? Always just have some fun responsibly over at FanDuel. So just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to look at all the odds and go get your free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket. It's FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the Locked On Podcast Network. Today's episode is also brought to you by our good friends over at Mary J's. Mary J's is a locally owned cannabis dispensary in Ottawa, and they've also got their flagship store in Kingston. So if you're heading back to school at Queens, maybe head over to the flagship store, but you can also find them in Cobourg. You can find them in Riverside South. They're in Orleans, and whether you're a rookie or a seasoned vet, you can get everything you need and make sure that it's at the best price at Mary J's. Our guy Dashy, diehard Sens fan, absolute beauty. He hooks us up when we head to town, and he also always loves chatting about the Sens. So head on over, say what up to Dashy, and make sure that you're all caught up on the latest trends and everything in that world, all at Mary J's. So check them out and go check out their loyalty cards as well. It's the best bang for your buck. It's all at Mary J's. So go visit them today. Mary J's, you can find them online or, as I mentioned, Riverside South, Orleans, Greeley, Russell, and Coburg. Welcome back to the Ring of Honor. It's episode 3 of season 2. We've got Nick Spence with us. That's Brandon Pillar. I'm Ross Levitan, and we are on to round 2 of the most polarizing players in Sens history.
Yep, snake draft. I'm coming back around here. Glad I was able to get Dominic Hasek. That's huge for the brand. For my next pick, I'm going to stay on brand, on Pilsy brand here. One of the most polarizing players in Ottawa Senators history, and it's a recent one.
Don't do it, Pilsy.
Erik Brannstrom.
Usually Pilsy's draft goes to heck in the 3rd round, not the 2nd.
Yep. Let Ross get the jokes out here.
Oh, Pilsy, it's not just Ross, man. I was ripping you in chat about this too.
That's fine. And you want to know why you guys are reacting to this pick? Because he was so polarizing. There's guys like you that are just sick of the Erik Brannstrom talk. A lot of people, I think the real issue with Brannstrom was he was the main return for Stone, and that created such huge expectations. And when you're a small defenseman and you're not able to live up to that quickly, things go sour. And when you're not able to live up to that at all as a time with the Senators, things go sour. But say what you want, he was an analytical darling. He often improved the analytics of any partner he played with, but the Senators weren't able to get him in a spot that made sense for him. He's a small defenseman. They don't always work out. Some of them do, some of them don't. And I would say it's pretty split between Sens Twitter. People that are like, the Sens should have kept him for that value. They had a valuable player here. And then half of Sens Twitter being like, get this guy out of here. They're never going to be able to play in the playoffs with the defenseman that small. So I know Ross rolls his eyes and he does his little I'm falling asleep gig, blah, blah, blah. Like, we all get it. Yeah, very funny. But I was validated by it because that was one of our most engaged with topics on Twitter. People were so split on where Erik Brannstrom actually is and should be. We're talking about the most polarizing player here. So far, we've only really talked about guys that had like off-ice issues. Erik Brannstrom, there wasn't really any off-ice or like media issues or like, foul play or anything like that. It was just people are so divided on his on-ice play and whether he had more to give or he had been there too long. So I like where this is going for me. I think the recency will help me out a little bit here. So that's those are my first 2 picks.
Anything
I'm okay
to
with you
add
taking a
on
4th round pick in the 2nd round. That's solid 4th round pick, Pilsy. Like really
great
solid.
4th round pick, Pilsy. Great 4th round pick. Pilsy's got Hasek and Erik Brannstrom. I'm going to go back to maybe the most exciting time in Senators history. And the big question mark, it almost piggybacks off of Pilsy's first pick. I'm going with Ray Emery. I mean, Ray Emery missed a flight to a playoff game. He missed a flight to a playoff game, dude.
You can ham it up about my pick, but this is a wild pick to be in the 2nd round. And you said this is your number 2 on your list?
This is a fantastic pick. This guy got suspended. He missed games, and he was the only guy that they needed because they had the team to be a Stanley Cup champion. They were relying on a 22-year-old goalie who couldn't always make it to the rink on time for the game. This is a fantastic pick. Name one other player in franchise history that misses a flight to a playoff game. It doesn't happen. That's about as polarizing. And not only did he miss the flight, boys, he was on the Queensway in his Hummer H2 signing autographs. No, that's polarizing. Ray Emery's a good
definitely pick. A tough look. I don't see Ray Emery as a polarizing character in Sens land, though. Like,
especially this early.
He's one of those ones that For sure. I get where you're coming from, Ross, in 2007. I get it. I think he's been so, like, the narrative has changed on him so much, especially with him unfortunately passing away so young. I don't think anyone considers him polarizing anymore. Like, I think you're really hoping Sens fans are diving deep on this one. I get it. I was there. I get it. I was there.
Cars, he had the
People love that.
watches, he had the girls, he had everything off ice. It felt like he was living the dream. And it just felt like this is your starting goalie in a Canadian market with all that pressure. And he just looked cool as can be. So I like the pick. Feel free to disagree or engage with it and let me know how wrong I am. But I like the pick. Ray Emery's number 2 for me. Okay. Nick, you got 2, but we're going 1, break 1. So hit us with 1 here.
So the first 3 picks of this were my top 3. So kudos. Nice. Branny I had as a late round pick. Emery was on my list of 32, but not in the top 12. So,
and he was your number 2, Ross, just to clear that up.
Number 2. Yep.
Okay.
I mean, whatever. If that's what the fans are voting, I have no idea where people are going to vote on this. So really, like, maybe it's a great
actually
pick.
That's a lie. Emery was 3. Yeah, Yashin was my 1-1.
Okay. Yeah, it went in order. 1, 2, 3 is correct. But then after that, it's gone off the rails. But tough topic. So my
polarizing topipic.
It's a polarizing topic. What? My number 2.
There's a lot of pressure on this one, Nick. You just called out our picks, and let's see if
but you know what?
I've still
got my number 4 here, so I'm good. Patrick Lalime.
Okay.
Patrick Lalime, man.
You think Patrick Lalime is more polarizing than Ray Emery?
Yes. Absolutely. The conversation between him being the best goalie in Sens history versus the worst in the playoffs in Sens history. The guy who disappears but also has a goals against average under 2. This guy up and down. Yeah, Ross. Yeah. You're upset. You're upset because Ray Emery was a bad pick.
No, you're just teaming up on me.
We were teaming up on Pilsy.
Just because you're louder doesn't mean you're right.
No, that's true. Although sometimes the loudest voice gets what they want. Patrick Lalime, man, come on. It's still to this day. People will absolutely.
Perfectly fine goalie that had a bad game at a bad time.
Exactly. That makes it polarizing.
But he was better than perfectly fine. That's why it's polarizing, because his numbers are incredible. But all anyone remembers, Leafs fans included, are those bad blundered goals that ended up.
And that's
ruining the Sens.
Exactly what I'm looking for here in polarizing is he's got his guys who will defend him till the end of the world and everyone who will throw him under the bus as fast as possible. He's got a divided fan base. You see a lot of it in the comments in the polls I was running this summer about favorite Sens. Lalime and Hasek, anytime they came up, people are, I love him, I hate him. Tons of it. That's why I love Pilsy's pick of Hasek, because there's still people nonstop. He quit on us. And then right next post, best goalie we ever had. Yeah. Lalime, same story, man. Disappear in the playoffs, best goalie we ever had.
3 goalies in our top 6.
Yeah, I mean, that kind of makes sense. That makes sense, though, at the same time, right? It's the most important position in the sport. It's the most important position, so you're going to have a lot of strong opinions one way or another. I think we're missing a baby boomer on this show, because there's no way that baby boomers in Ottawa in 2006 to 2009 loved having Ray Emery and his boxers on his helmets and the flash, all that. They didn't like that.
The boomers don't like Branny either, so I get it.
Ray Emery's my favorite goalie of all time.
How many boomers listen to the show, Ross? You got numbers?
I should have researched that. It might affect my next pick. I like your pick, though. I like all the goalies. They're off the board right now. Will there be more goalies? And, I mean, it's already getting contentious. This is going to get way off the rails. More next. You're listening to Locked On Senators, your team every day. Today's episode's brought to you by Game Time. Need tickets? You need Game Time. I'm telling you, whenever I need to get tickets to a sporting event, theater, concert, anything, I go to Game Time, because I know I'm going to get last-minute tickets at the lowest prices, and it's going to be guaranteed. I always make sure to keep that all-in pricing toggled on, because then there's no surprise fees. You always want to make sure that you're getting exactly what you bargained for. Game Time also has Game Time Picks. It's a new feature that makes it even easier to filter out the fluff. It only shows you incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. You can make sure to get the best prices. You can make sure that you know what to expect when you get to your seat, because at game time, you can actually get a panoramic view from your seat before you buy. Your purchase is also covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. So download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL. That's LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. Welcome back to the Ring of Honor. It's episode 3 of season 2. You can find all of the Ring of Honors wherever you get your podcasts, and free and available on YouTube. Nick Spence is with us. You can find Nick on Twitter, Whiskey Nick 95. We're on Twitter at Sens Central, and it is a goalie-friendly show, and goalies are going fast as the most polarizing Senators in franchise history. So we're halfway through. Nick has Alexei Yashin and Patrick Lalime. I've got Danny Heatley and Ray Emery. And Pilsey's got Dominic Hasek and Eric Brandstrom. Nick, your third round pick.
All right, so this is where I think we're going off the rails here.
Yeah.
Just now?
I think this is
where it's going to get really interesting. Yeah.
Wait,
before you make your pick. Do you have one or two guys here that you're sure about, or right now are you thinking more about what Ross and I are going to take? So what's left over for you? I just want to know your strategy.
So while I don't think Branny and Emery were good picks, we do have 4 of my top 6 are gone. I did have Branny going in this. Emery I didn't, but whatever. If he was a 4th round pick, sure. The remaining names I have, I don't know which ones you would pick, right? Like, I could make a case for any of them. Ross was around for a lot of the early days. He can probably remember after our games, people calling in and screaming about some of these guys. We all have lived through the Twitter times where there's a lot of options. I have no idea where you guys are going.
I have
next.
one player left on a tier, so I'm hoping you don't take him.
Okay, so I'm going to play into the fact that this is voted on Twitter.
Oh.
Mark Mathot.
Oh. Whoa. Wow. Meth on here. I'm taking one of Meth's former teammates, but Mark Mathot goes on here. Meth's obviously not afraid to speak his mind on social media, but I think that's a horrible pick. I think this is gonna be the
I disagree.
Let him explain the pick.
He is as polarizing a figure on Twitter. They love
players, most polarizing players.
Yeah, but their off-ice stuff comes in for all
for sure. His when he was a player, absolutely not. Terrible pick, garbage pick for just being a player. And if people want to vote that way, I just lost.
Okay.
Interesting.
I don't think people are going to vote that way. I think voting is on Twitter, where Mark Mathot definitely has people who love him, people who hate him, people who are here and there on him. But Meth is a character on Twitter. He's a big name. He gets a reaction, and you cannot, I know big, you guys love him. Meth's your guy. There are definitely a lot of guys on Twitter who don't like Meth. So I think this is a beautiful pick.
All right. Good pick.
Plays right in.
I'm about to bury your pick with mine. I mean, you talk about the Twitter age. This guy transcends fan bases. Cody Ceci being a 3rd round pick is outrageous. After every game he played with Ottawa, there was 1 million people commenting on the mini mistakes. There were highlight reels made of his lowlights. Like, the amount of time people invested into Cody Ceci and the Ottawa Senators. I'm thrilled to get him as my 3rd round pick.
But
did anyone ever say anything good about Cody Ceci?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say.
1st round pick, Ottawa 67, hometown kid. Of course everyone wanted him to succeed. And it's also polarizing when a guy consistently gets 25 minutes a night and nobody knows why.
Yeah, I think everyone's pretty unified on that, except for the Sens, except for the coach.
That makes it polarizing, because even though everyone was pushing against it, they still put him out on the ice, night in, night out. Top line minutes.
Yeah, you know what? Solid argument.
Oh yeah.
Hometown kid. that as a high pick defenseman did not
right shot
pan out.
defenseman, first round.
Classic.
Vasilevsky went 4 picks later, but who's counting?
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. He was on my list. He was on my list.
Cody Cece's my
Cody
third
Cece
round
wasn't
pick.
on my 32 names.
So Nick and Ross just have very different lists.
Like I said, no idea where you guys are going with
Me neither.
No idea. I don't know where I'm going next.
Me neither. This is gonna be crazy.
I'm thrilled with the player I'm about to get here. I don't know what I'm going to do with my second pick, but I have a commercial break to.
No, you don't.
To ponder over that. Oh no, I don't. This is my first time on Ring of Honor. Let's do another ad break here.
Yeah, get guys, you need a little bit more bank. Come on.
Polarizing podcast moves, adding more ad breaks to episodes. Okay, never mind. All right. Well, I'm just going to make the pick right off the hop, and Polarizing because he was a player that in his time here, he was successful. However, the Ottawa Senators had to make a decision, and most people think they did not make the right decision. Wade Redden.
He was going to be my 4th round pick. It's a good pick.
Yeah. Wade Redden, he still is the plus-minus franchise leader for the Ottawa Senators. I forget what it's at. I'm going to ballpark, Ross. Maybe you can stat.
Plus 154. I don't know why that number stands out in my head.
I'm going to say plus 144.
I said 154. It is plus 160. Price is right rules. I win.
All right. So he was very good when he was here.
Sorry,
however,
that was career plus 159 with Ottawa. That's wild. In 200 games without Ottawa, he was plus 1.
Yeah, like his time after he left Ottawa did not go great, but when he was with Ottawa, he was lighting it up. I mean, he had seasons, consistent 40-point seasons. You look at in 2000 and 2001, 47, well, then 34, but then 45, 43, 50. Like he would, and then most of the other times it's high 30s. So like he was putting up good numbers, but I think the only reason that he's polarizing is because the Sens had to decide between him and Chara. They let Chara walk. Everyone knows what happens. He signs free agent with Boston, becomes a Hall of Fame NHL player, and Wade Redden kind of falls off a cliff, and they end up they have to ship him off to New York, and he still has a massive, massive contract. So Wade Redden, I think, is a great polarizing pick because there was really good, but ultimately choosing to keep him over Chara was where a lot of fans were like, I'm so upset that this is the guy they chose.
Yeah, good pick. Nick, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, definitely at the time polarizing. I think he's fallen more into the good graces with nostalgia now. He is in the Ring of Honor. So that's might be a tough sell for you there, Pilsy. I think more fond memories than negative, but absolutely if you're around at the time, I don't know too many people that wanted Redden and not Chara. So
we've had some Central citizens that have talked about that, being like, I thought Redden was the right choice. I think a lot of people at the time could understand why they went that way, but revisionist history would show that was not the right choice.
Yeah, no, 20 years ago, memory's hazy.
So all defensemen here in this third round. Martin thought for Nick, Cody Cece for me, and Pilsy's got Wade Redden. So there's 4 defensemen and 3 goalies off the board in the first 9 picks. Pilsy, your 4th and final selection.
All right, my 4th and final selection. Well, I'm going to mix things up based on those stats you read. I will be picking a forward, my first and only forward of this list. And this is a late round pick, so I'm not too worried about the oomph of it, but I like it. Alexei Kovalev. When they signed him as a free agent, he was coming off a lot of big seasons in Montreal, a rival, 2-year, $10 million deal. And everyone still thought he had a little juice left in him, and he was able to put up some points. But
4 goals, that's absolutely sick. Didn't he have a 4-goal game?
I'm pretty sure he did. Yeah,
he did.
And then moonwalked when he went out for the first star.
I don't remember the moonwalk.
Yeah, he did.
He was a flashy guy. He was one of kind of like Yashin, like a Russian superstar. Or
he's a pilot. And when he lived in Ottawa, he would fly to New York City for the night, like for dinner, and then come back.
Yeah, he was pulling stuff like that. Like the guy had money to burn, and he still had the skill. Like I don't think people question the skill, but where this ends up getting polarizing is the work ethic. Back checking, forechecking, back checking, not part of his repertoire. The paycheck part is where Alex Kovalev really shined in his time in Ottawa. But like you even hear, I forget, maybe you guys can fill me in, but wasn't Alfie saying like that was one of the only guys that could like even challenge him in games of keep away in practice? Like he just had those silky mitts, and like the foot speed was gone, the work ethic, the drive to play the game was so gone, but the skill in the hands and the excitement was still there. And then he ends up being traded for a 7th round pick to Pittsburgh, which he waived his no trade clause. He's like, get me out of here. I'm done.
And to go back, he had some good years in Pitt back in the late 90s, early 2000s.
Yep. So he was down to go back to Pittsburgh, and that 7th round pick ended up being Ryan Dzingel. So yeah, I think Kovalev was a polarizing guy.
It's an okay pick.
Yep.
Like
I had him on my list.
I see where you're coming from there, but I mean, like he played decent in Ottawa. Yeah, no, he certainly was at the end of his career, right? So if he's 37 years old, what were we expecting? I guess the contract.
I mean, he signed a big ticket. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But Ottawa needs to get.
He's polarizing in general, though. His whole career was a story of being polarizing, right? Because it was always the doesn't try too hard enough.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Oh, it plays on the graphic for sure, and I think my final one plays as well. I'm trying to think of like listening to the Team 1200 back in the day. Who's always being talked about? Well, we know the NHL is a man's league, and Jason Spezza came in as a boy, and it took so long for Jason Spezza to get any sort of respect from the Ottawa Senators fan base and the organization. And there were some highs and there were some lows throughout his time in Ottawa. So for a 4th round pick, I'm taking a home run swing for Jason Spezza.
That Ross, beautiful pick. Hate to say it, that is a beautiful pick. People hated Spezza.
Always too flashy. Oh, why can't he? Why can't he look when he was captain? Faster?
Think about when he was captain. Like they hated him, loved him. Then he became captain, and they hated him.
Hated him again.
They ran him out of town, and now people love him.
But then they don't, because then he went to the Leafs.
Yeah, and Pittsburgh.
And now he's assistant general manager of the Pens.
Yeah. No, that's I didn't like it at first, but I'm coming around. That's
a very good pick. I hate to say it. That's a very good pick, Ross.
That could have been my second. You know what? Flip him and Emery, and all of a sudden my list looks fantastic.
That's better than Emery and Ceci. Better than both.
I wasn't even like thinking about the captain year, but that in itself you could write a novel about. Oh, was it
traded for spare parts? Basically, Nick Paul did okay here, but
I did it all.
He did do it all, but he didn't excel at any of it.
All right, Nick, this has been a fun, I think, a very, as we expected, kind of a out of the blue left field draft where we don't know a specific order, or even guys who are being drafted in the 2nd round aren't even on other people's 30 plus lists. But how are you going to wrap it up and tell us if your 30 plus names were in order? Were they?
I just threw a bunch of names together.
Okay, because if they were in order, I wanted to know what number you're at right now on your list. But it's okay.
Like, I did have my top 4 were the first 4, were Yashin, Heatley, Hasek, and Lalime.
Yep.
I had Meth pretty high up. I'm going to take it you guys didn't have him at all.
You could have, at the very least, knowing that, you probably should have saved that for your 4th round pick.
I didn't know if you guys were going to. I didn't know if you guys were going to think about the whole Twitter angle with it. I probably should have been thought about. You guys wouldn't for Meth, but whatever. It's fine. I'm confident that all the people that blocked you on Twitter will agree with me and vote for Mark Mathot.
They're gonna unblock us just to get that.
They're coming back just for this, just so Meth can lose this, so they can.
Hey, Nick, that's on
something.
They're not going to see this. I hope.
Whatever.
And if so, sup. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, support us by supporting our sponsors. Nick, the final pick in this Ring of Honor. This has been fun, man. Thanks for joining us, by the way. Whiskey Nick on Twitter.
Great to be here always, guys. 3 times now. So I think friend of the show.
Yeah. Oh, big time. But
Hashtag
you're a
Curtis
friend of the
Shuffle.
show when we saw you at Stanley's before the Habs game, buddy. This goes
Absolutely.
way back. We saw you at Dev Camp last
regular
year.
contributor. I'll
Hell
get my
yeah.
check in the mail or something.
Yeah. You just moved though, right? I think we sent it to the wrong address.
Oh, damn it.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, so I stalling here because I have too many names to pick from.
Honorable mentions are going to go crazy.
Honorable mentions, I have so many. I think I'm going to go with a more recent name here because I got kind of older, and kind of old. Derek Brassard.
Whoa.
Okay.
That's a Zibanejad trade. Sits real bad in a lot of people's memories. Okay. Brassard himself, not the problem, but the attachment to that Zibanejad trade, I think, will play well in this. He good moments with Brassard, that 1,000th game, scored some goals there, did a good playoff run for us in 2017, came back for that second run. But you see Zibanejad putting up 40-goal seasons. It's tough look. And still going to do it for the next 5 years.
And they attached a second round pick to that deal too.
Yeah.
I think that's more of a Pierre Dorion being polarizing than Derek Brassard, but I see the association.
Can't pick Dorion for this.
But I think you're going to see a lot more people see Brassard's name and think 2017 playoffs versus kind of the good job that he did as a mentor role. Man, you're just going after local. You're going after local kids that played on the team. I guess I have CC on mine, but Meth and Brass back to back.
They're good buddies too, right?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, great. Fantastic. I'm
going
to catch a pile of blocks on Twitter from them.
No, they'll commiserate over it together. They'll help each other.
They're definitely the guys who would love that stuff. Meth in particular loves his name is on that list. He loves it. He wants
we should have taken him 1-1.
He wants that attention. He loves it.
So, the most polarizing Senators ever, a draft. Nick Spence got Alexei Yashin, Patrick Lalime, Mark Method, and Derek Brassard. I've got Danny Heatley, Ray Emery, Cody Ceci, and Jason Spezza. Pilsey's got Hasek, Brandstrom, Wade Redden, and Alexei Kovalev on his list. Great draft, lots still on the table, and we're going to put the link to vote on this episode on YouTube. You can also find it at Sens Central on Twitter sometime on Friday, and we'll have that voting go throughout the weekend. Okay, honorable mentions. Can I just throw Mathieu Chouinard's name out right away?
No, I was hoping you'd say that. I didn't want to say that because I didn't think anyone would know about that, but I just learned about this guy today, and I was like, this is a wild story.
Yeah.
Do you know why they drafted him again?
Because he didn't want to sign?
So they were upset that he didn't sign with them, and
especially after picking them 15th overall.
And then the Yashin thing happened, and they weren't going to be pushed around by players. That was their big thing, right? Yashin pushed them around, and they're like, no, you're not going to sign with us? We'll just draft you again, and we got your rights for another. Another name similar, Michael Vikstrand, just coming to camp finally, and then just getting on a plane and be like, nah, I'm not playing. And then Brian Murray's like, yeah, he can play beer league over there if he wants.
Or bag groceries.
Yeah, he can bag groceries, but if he wants to play pro hockey, no. Chouinard would have played better on a graphic, but you have to know.
I don't know.
Story.
Would it? Yeah,
I don't think Chouinard would have. I think it's a good honorable mention, but I don't think it's a good on the graphic. People are like, what?
Yeah, fair. Anyone else that comes to mind right away?
I'll do mine because I only have a couple. We'll let Nick Spence have his hour-long extended scenes here. I almost did it, but decided not to because the way he's viewed now is very clear. But Mike Hoffman, I mean, when he was hot and he was a late round pick, he scored some big playoff goals. But then obviously don't need to get into why things soured, but off ice things happened, and that soured the relationship as well. What do you guys think about? I almost did this for my last pick, but decided against it. I thought about Logan Brown.
That's okay. Yeah, that's a
it's fine. I think Kovalev was better.
I think you did well going with Kovalev there. Logan Brown's an interesting one. The two guys that I'm almost surprised that neither was taken, but Chychrun and I think more so DeBrincat, back to back. The whole conversation around DeBrincat the whole year. So
both on my list. Both were on there.
Yeah. Yep. So I'll give you one more and then I took the other one. that I still had remaining, that would have been Cody Ceci.
All right, let's hear him, Nick.
All right. So, okay, strap on in. Back in the day, not now, I didn't pick him, but back in the day, Radek Bonk, man, people ran him through the mud for being big, drafted early, and not being super physical. He got run through the mud, but I think people mostly just love him now, so I didn't think it would play on the graphic. Bobby Ryan, for kind of similar reasons to why I picked Mark Mathot.
Bobby Ryan would have been a good pick.
He's got that Twitter presence where I think
not only that, like he signed a 7-year ticket.
Yeah,
the day that Alfie left.
Yes, that's the kicker.
He was the replacement for Alfie, and he just what do you have? 120 goal a year.
He made a lot of money.
He came here as he's a 4-time 30 goal. I'm never going to be tricked by a guy who scored a lot of goals after Bobby Ryan and then Alex DeBrincat.
Ross Levitan not looking at goals when it comes to players. Get that stat.
His goals with Ottawa 23, 18, 22, 13, 11, 15.
Yeah.
That playoff run though in 2017
was huge.
Dude, his years in Anaheim before coming to Ottawa, 31, 35, 34, 31, and then 11 in 46 games.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, that's a good time to trade for him.
Never get hyped for anyone. Never get hyped for anyone coming hot from another team. I guess that's bad for Allmark, right?
No.
No, he's different. He's different.
He's different. It's a new age. Any other ones on there?
Oh God, I got other ones. So kind of a niche name, Stefan DaCosta.
Okay.
You remember the hype around?
You thought there was high expectations?
I think there was a lot of talk around DaCosta, and he did nothing. Not worth drafting here.
He is a KHL all-star, though. Have you seen his KHL stats? He's so good over there.
Not good in the NHL, but good everywhere else.
Yeah.
Matt Duchene.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah. I thought about it.
Mike Fisher for kind of the same reasons.
Well, Matt Duchene is interesting too because he was polarizing at the same time the team was. Right. Yes. So it was like his association is with the team spiraling.
He could have been kind of a Melnick fill-in on him. But yeah. Mike Fisher for the same reasons as Mathot and Ryan. He's got that kind of like now that people know everything about pro athletes and some people are less private on Twitter, I'd say he's polarizing. Gonchar.
Gonchar was an interesting one with Kovalev, like similar vibe.
Yep.
I got Leonard and Bishop as a tandem.
Ooh,
right? Like
Leonard himself could be.
I couldn't figure which one you'd pick out of them because it's kind of a both of them thing, and I'd assumed we weren't letting us pick two guys at once.
No.
Josh Norris.
That's the thing.
Current.
Yeah. I mean, Josh Norris is an interesting one, but that one's tough because that story is still unwritten.
It's being written.
Yeah, being written.
He could end up being nothing. Gustafson.
Yeah, I thought about that as well, especially Nick when it was time to make the protection list for Seattle expansion. His story is very polarizing.
Similar story to the Leonard Bishop thing, right? It's like you got to make a decision. What are we doing? Same reason that I have Phaneuf.
Yeah, that would have played.
Same reason I got Phaneuf on my list is because him or Mathot when we were protecting people, right?
Yep.
There's a lot of what do we do there. I got the Damian Rhodes Ron Tugnut tandem because there was a lot back then about which one is our goalie. I didn't think it would play too well, but I think there was definitely, if you were there, you remember people disputing who should be playing. I got Alex Burrows on there because, man, that trade was not well received. Don't know that anyone had any positive of him, but
I did. That's the first time that Pilsy sat me down and said, buddy, we got to delete some tweets.
Yeah, we had a little chat.
We had to delete some tweets that day. I was the biggest Jonathan Dahlen super fan of all time.
Nothing wrong with that. A lot of people were. A lot of people that day loved Jonathan Dahlen.
The extension was the problem, though, and I mean they still bought him out of that the final year.
And then last, same kind of thing. Travis Hamonic, maybe preaching to the only two guys who are positive on him, but definitely he's got some. I think polarizing on there, and I think I got Gerber on there as well.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's it. I considered some other names, but they aren't really. I don't think they're valid for this. But yeah, there's a lot you could go. There's so many directions. This is a great topic, guys. Good. Kudos Pilsy for coming up with this. This is
Well, it was the Eric Brandstrom discussion. It was that day that I brought it up. So
take it back. Never mind.
Yeah, the Ring of
terrible.
Honor.
It's as bad as Brandstrom
discussion. Awesome. Well, you can see if you're watching on YouTube. If you're listening, head over to Twitter at Sens Central. You can find the full list of where we voted for the most polarizing players in Senators history. Who did we miss? Let us know in the comments as well. Always like hearing those names because there's thousands of players in Sens history at this point. So we couldn't get them all.
452.
What? How many?
452, Ross.
That's it?
That's how many have played a game for them.
Oh, without goalies? Or are you counting goalies?
That's it. That's goalies.
You think there's over 600 goalies that he missed out on there?
Hey, with the Sens, man, they used 11. Didn't they use 7 in 1 year?
If you go guys who never played a game for them, I'm not sure, but I ran the every Sens player thing this summer. It's 452.
You would know. Yes.
I know. I ran a lot of polls with a lot of names that no one has ever heard of that got 42 votes because nobody knows who they are.
Dude, that was awesome, man. We'd like to see that. And for more, you can follow Nick on Twitter, Whiskey Nick 95. Nick, we'll see you at the home opener, man. Absolutely blast doing this with you. And we'll give you some time to do a victory lap if you are the winner. We'll find out that on Monday. Go have your votes for the Ring of Honor on Twitter at Sens Central. Have a great weekend, everyone. We will talk to you on Monday. For Nick Spence and Brandon Pillar, I'm Ross Levitan. This has been another edition of the Locked On Senators podcast. Your team every day.